Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to another Master video, and as requested, we're going to go over, as usual, every month that we do, right, the 6REX sync pairs and just some of my, again, personal suggestions for those who are wondering. I mean, if you have your own opinions and you don't need my suggestions, then why are you watching this video? But, just some of my suggestions in terms of which 6-star, EXs are much more worth going for over maybe some other ones, right? So yeah, let's get into this then. So this time actually like gave like the tiers some like more I guess detailed. I say detailed, but like my first one is called like big gain in descriptions, right? So it makes a bit more sense in terms of which tier means what, because like a lot of times like some like tiers, they are like slightly lower, but like it's still like really really good, but like people just misinterpret it as, oh wow, that's F, that F must mean bad or whatever. But sometimes I just have a lot of tiers and there's a lot of great units and I just can't fit everything on the top, right? So anyways, let's get into this. So let's start from I don't know. Let's start in order. Let's start with our boy Nate. Poor Nate. Honestly, Nate has some decent increases. For one, right? Whenever we're talking about these, I'm just strictly talking about the EX effects, not the 20 out of 20 effects, because you could have a 20 out of 20 unit without EXing them, right? Since you still need Champion Spears to EX them. Depending on how many resources you have, that could either be not an issue at all or a huge issue, right? Nate, the thing was, again, we're not talking about this 20 and 20 stats, but like this guy's stats are so bad, he'd benefit a decent amount from that. He'd actually, have like normal unit stats after that. But no, again, that's not what we're gonna talk about. Mainly just because he has like inertia. It's an AoE. It's a sync move. You give him 6 REX. The sync move turns into an AoE, which is something. It's something. Again, it's not anything crazy. I mean, if you're like, this is mainly if you're like a huge Nate fan, right? And you really want to make Nate work. And if you 20 if you 6 REX him, he's not terrible, I guess, right? Well, a huge improvement from just regular Nate, I guess. Which is really bad. I mean, honestly, 6 REX Nate is still not that great, but he does get much better. So, there's that. Anyways, moving on. Next one, let's see. Lance. Lance is a weird one. I'm gonna probably put in slight increase as well. Because Lance... or Lancedos, however you want to call it, Lancedos doesn't really get much either, but you do have Carry On, which is nice. But the thing about Lancedos is, like, you probably are not going to pick up Carry On, right? It is an option, and obviously 6 REX, giving it an AoE sync move definitely helps with triggering, Carry On, right? Which again gives you free attack stat, and as a unit that doesn't really buff your own stats that much, that's definitely nice to have. But then again, if you're like just trying to like maximize Gyarados, you won't be picking up Carry On. Let's be real, you're probably gonna be picking up Raging Rain over here. What was the other one? Shower Power up here, all that stuff. Like these really big multipliers, because Gyarados hits like a truck. Right? So you probably don't really want to sacrifice too much damage just to pick up Carry On. You probably better just to run a support. So, moving on, Lily is fantastic. Lily we put in the great buff category. Lily, you get heals on your sync. You got heals on your sync, and plus it's a support buff. Support buffs are just, in my opinion, the strongest ones of all the 3 EXs, right? Support, Tech, and Striker, right? And then you also get with Clefairy, you get Synchro Healing on your passive, so not only do you get the support buff, you also heal your whole team on your sync. So again, that synergizes very well in my opinion. So moving on, Morty. Morty, I kind of want to put it in nothing much. Like, does Morty get an increase? Yes. Is that increase good? Yes. Does Morty's kit work well with that increase? Not at all, right? Unfortunately. I don't love Morty. I really, 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 really like Morty a lot. He's probably my second favorite like male gym leader in the whole series, third, something like that. He's like definitely top five. But here's the thing, he has blind spot, and he hits relatively hard with that blind spot. I mean, right? It's good, but do keep in mind you need to get your sync move first, and if you're using Phantom Force on this guy, you're just gonna get there like 2 times longer, which is not good, right? You're better off not taking that at all. Just go Shadow Ball or something. And if you are running like Shadow Ball, your special attack's not the greatest for a striker, right? Unfortunately. So yeah, that's the thing about Morty. You get some decent buffs, but like, is it really worth it? Probably not, right? So, anyways, moving on. Let's go to let's go to Skyla. Skyla put in great buff as well. Because Skyla as a tech sync pair, right? She does get that 1.5 times buff on your sync move, right? And Skyla is a really, really, really good sync nuker, right? She's got Rising Tide. She's got something else, right? Flint Shader 5, right? And then on top of that, she also has innate buffs off of the if the opponent is status, all that stuff. So yeah, Skyla is very, 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 very good, right? One of the top targets, honestly, for tech EXs. Moving on to Lisa. Lisa also fantastic, right? Inertia, AoE sync nuke. Run that with Electric Train. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Don't need to go too deep in that. Lily B, I'd also put it over here. Lily B is kind of like regular Lily, except I would argue a bit better because Lily B, instead of the synchro healing, Lily B gives your whole team regen, which is, in my opinion, much better, right? I mean, you just heal up more. I mean, it's just straight up numbers, right? So that's fantastic. So yeah, that's really good. That's really good. And also, again, it's a support. Supports are just busted. 6 RXs, right? Moving on, Grimsley, same thing with Sings or Lisa, right? Striker, AoE sync nuke, with I think it's Inertia, right? And then like Alyssia, getting Electric Terrain, Grimsley gets Rain, and also Grimsley also has Double Down as well, so that mitigates the Mega Striker BP factor, right? Moving on, Wallace, solidly in great buff. Like, Wallace is, like, honestly borderline for me, right? Wallace is so good with that extra buff. Like, Wallace, first of all, like, hits really, really hard already, right? Where is it? All right, there it is. Already hits decently hard. Good, really good special attack for a tech unit. And then you get the innate buff off of your sync move if the opponent is trapped, which is really, really easy to do. I mean, trap is the easiest volatile status condition you could apply onto your opponent. And the big thing about Wallace is you get recuperation too. Recuperation, like, is one of the most busted skills in the game. Like, just straight up just like healing on sync is just incredibly busted. Doesn't cause any MP, it's free. Every 3 turns you just heal back up, right? Incredibly busted. So, on top of that, again, it's a water type. You get to benefit from rain as well, so you're gonna hit even harder outside of already hitting incredibly hard. So yeah, Wallace is a fantastic option over here as well. Moving on. Oh, this is gonna be our first one up here for the B gain. May is crazy at the moment, right? Just with all the stuff that we have, right? Once you EX May, May is the hardest sync nuker in the game. Straight up. The most damage done sync nuker in the whole game, hands down, is May. And that is really impressive. And that's a lot of damage, right? Yeah, May is just insane. I don't even know. They just made her like incredibly busted. Yeah, right. So, obviously, water type benefits from rain. Your special attack, that's really, really good special attack, right? Uh, yeah, like, you get that innate buff on your sync move. If it's the weather is raining, which you could set rain up yourself, anyways, right? Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't know what else to say. Where's the hide and sync? That's the one. Um, that's basically a haymaker, but for like accuracy down. Anyways, all right. Moving on, and also like May just hits super hard on her own. Moving on. We got Singsu Blue also up here, right? Singsu Blue is fantastic. Once sync with Singsu Blue, you get all those really really good defensive stats, right? On Mega Blastoise, which is always nice to have. You also get Safety Net. Your whole team gets, AoE Endurance, which is also nice as well. And on top of that, it's a support. And again, support sync buffs are broken. Hilbert, Halloween Hilbert, that's another one up here. Halloween Hilbert is fantastic. He just has like so many things from that, right? Let's see, where is it? Marina. I'm probably looking at it. Oh, there it is, right? So, Mighty Ina, like, you have Haymaker, which is a sync nuke, right? You get an AoE sync nuke. And then the really, really great thing about, that really sets Hilbert aside from, like, a lot of the others, like Strikers, right, that have sync nukes, is that you have Carry On and Spur on 4, which raises your attack every time a Pokemon on the field play faints, and Spur On charges your move gauge by 4 each time another Pokemon in the field faints. So not only are you sync nuking with a relatively easy sync nuke, right? You're also you're also getting attack from it, because very very likely with a very powerful sync nuke, AoE sync nuke, you will very likely take out some of the sides. And Spur On, same thing with Carry On. So not only are you getting +1 attack, you're also getting +4 gauges back. If you take out 2 at the same time, that's +2 attack and +8 gauges, which you don't even have 8 gauges. Max is 6, right? Very powerful. Very, very powerful. Pretty nuts. All right. Moving on. Brendan, I put it in solid ups. Here's the thing with Brendan, right? Brendan does have a sync nuke here as well. The slight issue here is it's a give and take issue, right? With Brendan, you have inertia, and you could just run on like a regular inertia build, right? But generally with Brennan, you might also want to take in Charging Sun 5 as well, because that's straight up an extra 50% damage boost, right? And if that's the case, unless like you're running some, really short stage, you can use Blaine, right? But otherwise, Lyra obviously the much better option here, and you have to sync with Lyra. So like, in some cases, it's fantastic, right? And in other cases, it's not useful at all. Right? So yeah, I think solid ups was a great tier to throw him in. Moving on, Alyssia, I'll put it in solid ups as well. Alyssia doesn't get too much from 6-star EX. I mean, again, tech 1.5 times on the sync move damage, but she is, again, attack. You do have the extra, power ups on your sync move innately, as like all techs do, basically. She, but she also has like double down too, right? And the reason why it's not like higher, because it's only double down 2, and also it has to be against rank type opponents, which in some cases you might be like using Altaria against like fair type opponents or fair type weak opponents. And if that's the case, then you're not getting anything from double down. It might even move her down one as well, but again, like, she's just really really great offensive stats, right? Once you 6-star EX, that's like 455 for a tech unit with that extra 1.5 times buff. That's a lot of damage, right? So anyways, moving on. Mallow. Okay, here's the thing with Mallow, right? Mallow could either be here or here, right? Because the issue with Mallow, and alternatively just put it here, right? The thing with Mallow is Mallow could potentially be the strongest sync nuker in the game, surpassing May. However, the reason why I said potentially is she could also potentially not. Here's a few things about Mallow, right? Really, really good attack stat, which is nice. Physical sync move with an innate buff if the opponent is confused. Right? Where's the thing, right? It's not that one. Anyways, she also has Solar Flare 5 on her grid, powers up sync moves when the weather is sunny. Pecking order, the more the target's attack is lower, the more it powers up sync moves. Again, she could potentially be the strongest sync in the whole game. Here's the thing. She needs sun and grassy terrain for that to work. The first big thing is we don't have a grassy terrain unit in the game yet, right? So once, a grassy terrain unit comes out, we could maybe put it in that conversation. And I also said maybe because here's the other thing. For Mallow to work, right, to be the number one sync nuke in the whole game, you need grassy terrain, you need sun, you need stat buffs, right? We also need to decrease your opponent's attack, which, I mean, 6 turns, 2 sync move cycles. But anyways, let's just even put that aside for a second, right? Even we're putting that aside. No unit in this game that doesn't require syncing to set sun, and by that I mean Blaine. Blaine does not give you. Blaine doesn't give you grassy terrain. Blaine does not give you max physical attack and max crit, because Malo unfortunately does not get max crit and does not get max physical attack. So you need something to give Malo max physical attack and max crit. Well, I guess you could like MP refresh on that, but like outside of that, yeah, that's basically the issue. No, like Blaine as our only non-syncing sunsetter, right? As our only non-syncing sunsetter, Blaine does not give Malo any stat buffs. So this basically depends on how our grassy terrain unit is going to turn out. If our grassy terrain unit turns out to be able to max out Mallow's attack, even if it doesn't max out crit, again, you just take a MP refresh up here. If it turns out that grassy terrain unit can max out attack, then Mallow is easily all the way up here, right? If not, then we could bring it down a bit. Then you'll probably have to pick and choose which ones you're not gonna pick up, right? And in my opinion, probably just drop Solar Flare 5, which you'll still have really, really good sync move damage, right? Just not as insane as it's just not maze level, unfortunately, right? But anyways, yeah, a lot of people sleeping on Mallow. Moving on, Steven is easily up here. I mean, Steven's just incredible with the sync move, right? A decent damage with the Haymaker. It's not anything crazy, the Haymaker sync nuke on Steven, but it's really, really solid, right? And then you get recuperation. So yeah, it's busted. I don't know what to say. Moving on, Leaf, probably put it here as well. Leaf hits like an absolute truck on the sync move. So I don't know, it's pretty straightforward. Moving on, Musharna, I probably put it here in slightly increase, just because I mean it's just like it's a solid. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of want to move it down one. Like, it really doesn't get much. I mean, it like Musharna's stored power like hits so hard, like, to the point that do you really want to like sync with Musharna to get that sync move damage in over like your 7 billion damage stored powers? And again, she doesn't really get anything from her sync move, so there's that. Anyways, moving on, Cynthia probably here as well. Cynthia basically gains nothing from the 6 REX, unfortunately. Moving on, Gladian put over here. I mean, you have some good. I mean, Gladian actually does some decent damage on the sync nuke, right? Nothing more though. Again, it's a pretty limited sync pair, right? It's great if you're new to the game. Once you got a decent amount of different type of strikers, Gladian just kind of fades out, right? And the other thing about Gladian is if the opponent changes types, right, you're kind of screwed. Moving on, Rosanta, Rosanta I'd probably put up here. Does Rosanta get anything from her sync move? No, not really, but again, it's a support, and support EXs are just incredibly overpowered. Moving on, Vulcan I'd probably put here as well, maybe one tier above Bianca. I mean, yeah, maybe one tier above Bianca. I mean, at least Vulcaner, you could use it, right? You can use Vulcaner's sync move, and it does solid, I guess. You know what? I'm moving it down. No, I'm moving it down. The only way you'd ever do that is if you're running it with like Striker Pikachu. With the units that we have right now, Hao has a sync nuke, right? Alyssia has a sync nuke. Who's the other one? Zekrom hits really hard on the sync move as well, right? Like, I guess, like, Singsu Lisa, maybe? Or Striker Pikachu, or I don't even know, right? Yeah, I mean, it's just more so with the units issue, right? With Volkner, you're just not really, unless you're just running him by himself, and if it's by himself, it's not that big of a deal, honestly. Moving on, Singsu Red is solid, right? Singsu Red, obviously Haymaker with Solar for 5. That's a good amount of damage. It's not anything crazy, but really, really good, right? So there's that. Although Singsu Red's teams are going to be a bit weird if you're trying to go for that, right? Some really unreliable teams, unfortunately. Anyways, moving on. Alder's fantastic as well. Alder, not only do you have the sync nuke on Devastation, you also get recuperation, so you heal up after you sync, right? So you definitely do want to sync with Alder. So that's nice, right? Moving on, Jasmine. Jasmine's fantastic as well. Also another, like, borderline, like, top tier as well. Just recuperation, plus it's a support, right? It's fantastic. And Mega. You know what? I'm moving Jasmine up one. We're bumping Jasmine up one. Jasmine is fantastic. Again, recuperation with Steelix. You have the Mega Steelix stats. I don't even know, something else. I think does Jasmine have like a sync nuke, or am I tripping? Oh, support, right? I don't think Jasmine does, right? I know it has like 2 tough cookies. Doesn't seem like it does. Yeah, Jasmine's fantastic. Plus, it looks really good. Anyways, not that we're taking that into account. Moving on. I got N. N has some solid increases. I mean, it does like good sync move damage, I guess. You know what? We're moving it up one. I mean, he does about as much damage as Singsu Lisa does, right? On the sync nuke. So we'll actually put him here. Yeah. That's probably better. Moving on, Blue. Blue doesn't get much at all. I mean, yeah, kind of pointless. Moving on. Dawn would probably put here as well. Maybe even one higher, honestly. Yeah, I'm thinking of moving Dawn one higher. Here's the thing with Dawn. Dawn does really, really good damage for a support. Plus, it's a support. I mean, it's got a sync nuke, right? So that's something. I don't know. I'm kind of in between still. Like every other second, I switch my mind. You know, I'm just gonna close my eyes and see where it lands. Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Anyways, moving on. Wally. Wally, we're probably gonna throw it over here. Slight increase. You do have that cakewalk option, right? Which is a sync nuke. However, it's pretty bad. Cakewalk's not that great of a sync nuke, and you kind of don't really want to build around that if you're Wally. I don't know. Anyways, moving on. Gloria has some solid ups, right? Nothing too much from Gloria, actually. I mean, you basically have, like, that's not Gloria. You basically have nothing. You basically don't have, like, anything. You do get, like, the refresh on your training move after your sync. You do have a guaranteed crit on the sync, which is nice. And after your opponent syncs, your sync moves do increase in power. But outside of that, you don't really get much. Again, these are all, like, solid buffs, but nothing too insane to tip the skills that much. Anyways, moving on. Singsu Lisa, probably here as well. Again, you don't really get anything from Singsu Lisa. I'm just putting her because she's a support, right? Moving on, Hilarica. As much as I, flex my Hilarica, and I love her. It's fantastic, right? One of my favorite units to use. I mean, she doesn't really get any too many ups either, right? I remember she does have like endurance for herself or something. Yeah, safety tether. Not a huge deal. Don't really care, honestly. So there's that. I mean, it's actually not bad for Hilarica, just because like, in the case that you do get like one shot by any move, because like Hilarica is like in my opinion, the best tank in the game. Her only weakness as a tank is potentially getting one shot, and if you do have safety tether, so that and make sure you don't get one shot, you basically heal up your whole HP bar like in the very very next move. So yeah, it's not bad, I guess. You know what? I'll move it up one. Why not? Okay. Rosa here as well, just because again support, nothing too special. Acerola, you have a sync nuke, I guess, but like her stats just don't really help her case that much, unfortunately. And it's not like a huge sync nuke either, unfortunately. It's just like Fuzzy Strike 5, which again, not bad, but also not anything crazy, right? I mean, I just can't really put her in the same league as like some of these much better like tech sync nukers, unfortunately. Iris, I'd probably put in solid ups as well. I mean, she does have carry on, I guess, but that's kind of about it. She doesn't have like too much stuff there. I mean, if you slight increase, maybe, honestly. And then Luzamine is in the question mark zone. Here's the thing about Luzamine. Her 6-star EX sync nuke could either be fantastic for her or could just completely ruin her, right? And because of that big downside of potentially just ruining Luzamine, right? I am putting her in the lowest tier. In my opinion, it's probably better to not 6-star EX Luzamine than to 6-star EX Luzamine. Cause she's you don't want your AoE sync nuke. You don't want your sync move to be AoE, right? In some cases, if you don't take out the opponents, then it's fine, right? If you do somehow to take out any sync pairs with your AoE, even if it's the middle, but you're mostly worried about the sides. If you take out any of the side enemies with your AoE sync nuke, you're losing your passive. You don't want to lose your passive, right? You're not getting anything from your passive. You want that passive to trigger. And unfortunately, if you kill it with your sync move, it doesn't trigger your passive. I hope they'd buff that, because like it's straight up just like a negative getting her 6-star EX. She looks fantastic in it though, so there's that. There is also the potential upside of, okay, you won that one AoE sync nuke, lower your opponents to a really good range of HP, so you could just one Blizzard and just sweep them both, and then they get +6 attack, special attack, which is possible, and which would be very, very good in that scenario, but the downsides are too large and too much of a risk, honestly, right? Again, these are just me ranking them based on their usefulness, all that stuff, not on how much their outfits are like. I've done an outfit tier list already, right? And also, in my opinion, you should generally 6-star EX like your favorite units, right? Even if your favorite units like Luzamine, like hey, I know how bad Luzamine 6-star EX was, and I EX'd her because I love Luzamine and I love her outfit. It's fantastic. Again, this game's not that hard. Just go for like your favorite units, right? So anyways, that's me for this one, I guess. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to guys think in the comments down below. Like if you enjoyed this video, so right, channel for some more Masters content. I'll see you guys in the next one.